Okay, so welcome to this webinar. So I'm sharing my screen at the moment. So this is all around keeping organised, managing stress and password management and priorities. So just to start with, starting with a quick one. So this is with regards to habits. So there's various apps for this, but this is just one particular app. So Habitify. I also use another one called Habit. So basically this is where you can schedule tasks, repeating tasks, habits that maybe you want to do on a daily basis or a weekly basis. You mark that off in the app, and then that means you can track those specific tasks, so being organised, not forgetting things. So this is just one example. There really are a lot of apps that do this in terms of habits. So that was just a quick one to start with. Now, the next one I want to talk about is LastPass, password management. So I found this to be excellent. This is all these apps are free, by the way. So LastPass, okay, is all to do with, if you're like myself, I mean, in particular within our accountancy business, with, particularly in the last 12 months, there's a lot of different softwares we're using now for various things. And during coronavirus, that's just moved to the next level as well, given, remote working, so Zoom, Calendly, Microsoft Teams, so all these different apps we're using, so you've got a choice. Do you have the same password that's not secure, or do you have different passwords, and then how do you manage that? So LastPass is a way where you can manage all of your passwords. So you can just create an account, it's a free account, and then you have all your passwords in one place. You can add all of your passwords for everything. You have a login via a master password just on the LastPass. And then if you're like me, where I was previously keeping my passwords in my Outlook or written down somewhere or in a book or whatever, so for security, really something that's excellent. And you've got a master password, and then it's just a case of storing all those different passwords. It speeds things up a great deal. If I'm looking for a password, I've got LastPass open on my computer, I find that password straight away. So I really recommend LastPass for that purpose, really. So that again is fairly quick. So what I'm going to spend the majority of the time on is more advanced organisational tools, whether it's projects or just general tasks. So with regards to what I've already talked about, so the habit piece, I would recommend for repeatable tasks, if there's something that you have to do every day or every week or every month. But with regards to just general work or personal projects, in our business, we've been using Trello for the last 12 months. So I'm just going to demo that. So I've created an account earlier just to demo this. Hopefully this works. Right, I've just got to activate the account, just give me a minute. So what I would say also, there are alternatives to a lot of these things. So with regards to Trello, there's also Microsoft Planner, and with regards to habits, there's also Microsoft To Do. I've actually gone a bit overboard in terms of I use habits for personal habits, like, whatever. whatever you can think of, whatever your personal habits are that you don't want to forget, or your personal routine. And then Microsoft To Do I use for work repeatable tasks. So I've actually chosen to separate out my work and personal routines with different apps. You don't have to do that. It's very much an individual choice. And with regards to Trello, if you do have the Microsoft products, which is a small fee to pay for Microsoft, there are alternatives. So Trello and Microsoft Planner are very similar. Trello is another free app. As I mentioned, also the other habit apps on the App Store are also free. So this should now be verified. So I'm just going to log in again. Right, so Trello. So just before I demo this, I'm just going to give a bit of background, because I also talked about managing stress. Now, there's a very good TED talk that I watched recently, you know, linking in with coronavirus and everything, sort of by coincidence, where talking about managing stress, and it's a doctor who talks about priorities and whether you know, effectively you're prioritizing properly. So thanks, Colleen, you just put that in the chat box. So if people want to make a note of that, I'd really recommend that for stress management. It helps me quite a lot in my thinking. Not always easy to put into practice, but effectively around prioritization, what we're talking about here is, you know, by all means watch the TED talk, but what I would refer to, my key takeaway was, whereas a doctor, she's talking about patients who are screaming for sugar in their coffee and patients who are dying quietly in the corner. So, you know, I don't think any of us on the Zoom webinar or people watching the replays will necessarily be doctors. We might have a doctor watching, but, you know, the parallel for me is, you know, trying to differentiate between a client who is, well, effectively wanting sugar in their coffee, or something, you know, much more important. So, you know, we've got quite a lot of clients. So we've had clients with coronavirus that perhaps we've only recently heard from. They've said, well, they're recovered now and it's all good, but, you know, that's why they didn't hear from us, and this sort of thing. So just gives, there is a bit of a medical analogy, but just in more general terms with prioritization, you know, I've started reminding myself that, you know, no one's going to die. I think that's the starting point with these things. You say, no one's going to die, right? I'm not going to get stressed out. I've got this much on my plate, and then I'm going to work through it, and I'm going to prioritize. So the way the TED talk talks about that is actually, I'm going to link into Trello, because it's how I'm now organizing my my work to-do list effectively, and prioritizing that. And this is talked about in the TED talk, where you identify your most critical activities that have to be done, important, potentially urgent. Then you identify your medium priority, which, you know, you'll get to, but they're not priority right now for this week. So they're your yellows. So red's critical, yellows medium, and then greens comes back to this idea, well, no one's going to die. I'll probably get to this activity, but it's not actually something that's important for me right now. And then you can actually extend that further, and I've got what's called a stop doing list. So the stop doing list can refer to either things that you have on your to-do list that you're just not going to do, or you may delegate, or you may get help with, or you may find a different method of doing it. So stop doing list, I think, is quite powerful as well. Quite a lot of our clients talk to us about their resources and time, you know, being quite critical. Might have a family, all this sort of thing. So a stop doing list is quite powerful. So really, I'm going to create a new board here on Trello. I'm going to call this to-do list, and take you through some of the features within Trello. So this is the default to-do, doing, done. I'm going to change that slightly to red. yellow, green, stop, done. Okay, so you can expand this for basically any project. A to-do list is kind of one of the things you can use this for, but we've got separate things, so I'll go into that in a bit more detail as well. I'll demo some other boards, but you know, if you're taking on a client, you might have a process for that. And I'll talk about checklists as well, which is quite powerful. So then within the reds, I might have, you know, demo, timesheet software, take on new member of staff. Then I might have complete accounts for Joe blogs. Okay, so they're my reds. Yellow might be something like return car park key, because we're not using our car park anymore, or improve Microsoft Teams process. And then green could be something like speak to client about moving their receipts onto software, even though they are not keen. So this is kind of how I would the sort of prioritization I would do. So with regards to the greens, it's maybe more of a proactive thing. You might decide that becomes a red because the records process is taking a lot of time, or you know, I might move that onto my stop list and then ask a member of the team to work on. So these things can be quite fluid. I think with the reds, you know, you have to identify what's critical for you, for your day, for your week. And then obviously, right, I've taken on the new member of staff, that goes to done, the accounts are done. So things are moving around every couple of days. And then, you know, what else is on the reds? So that's how I do my to-do list. So that's sort of a basic demo of that. You can put due dates on. So you can put attachments in here as well, which is useful. So if I put a due date, I want to demo the timesheet software by, say, today. So I put today's date, then that's on there, so I can track that. You know, the car park, it might not be urgent for today, but I'm going to put a due date on there for 16th of July. And then it might become a red by early July, something like that. And this sort of thing. So records, I might say, well, we want all clients to have digital records by the end of November. So I'm not going to drive myself mad about it today, but I could ask for help with the team on this, or just leave that as a green, and then it might become a yellow nearer to that due date, for example. So that's really how I would manage a to-do list on Trello. Now, as I mentioned about repeatable tasks, I wouldn't use Trello for things which repeat, because then effectively what keeps happening is, you know, you keep having to add cards. So you might say, you know, have a shower or whatever, just as an example. Well, you want to do that every day if you have to remind yourself to have a shower. It's just a silly example, but you know, you'd want that more as a habit, as a repeatable thing, not on a to-do list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get rid of that. And you know, in my case, if I you know, this is how it's evolved for me. I might manage our client account. Might put reconcile bank account for lesson code. And I might put sign off timesheets. But actually, I've moved those to a repeatable app, a separate app. So I've got two apps, one for repeatable and one for one-offs. And I think Trello is good for the one-offs. You can also add team members in. So this isn't my work one. I've set up a separate one just for the demo. But for example, you can add members. I could invite people. So Chris, for example, I can add in. I could invite him. So that comes back into the settings where you can create a team. And if you want multiple people interacting with your to-do list. So so basically I wouldn't have repeatable things on here. I'd have those in the repeatable app separately, and just use Trello for one-off. So, you know, we've got quite a few boards to manage different processes within our firms. I think, again, it's not, I wouldn't use it for the repeatable stuff. So stuff like accounts, we don't use it for, but we use it for other stuff. So if client changes their address, we've got a board for that. New clients I mentioned. So I'm just going to demo the checklist feature now. So create new board, new clients. So when we take on a new client, I might have something like prospects, signed up, in progress, complete. So this is the kind of thing you can do with Trello. So say I might have something like, you know, Billy's company. Okay, that's the prospect. Right, Billy's signed up. So I'm moving across. I'm actually not going to use that. So say someone signed up. I'm just going to create an example here. So what I do is I have a static example, okay, and then I'll have a checklist within that. So I'll just show you what that looks like. So checklist, you just call it checklist, I normally do, and then you add within the checklist item. So I'm going to put client signs, contract, direct debit with go cardless, completed, client using QuickBooks. Okay, so there's different things you can put in here. Client sent off to HMRC. HMRC has processed. So our new client process is a bit more complicated than that. We've got about 30 things on the checklist, but if I have, I'll just leave that as an example for the demo. There's 5 things on the checklist. So I leave that as a static example. Then what you do is you can copy. So I'll copy that and I'll put in Keith's new accountancy firm. Right, so I'm setting up a new accountancy firm. I'm not, obviously, but that's the demo client. So basically then that's just created a new card. So just in terms of Trello terminology, you've got a board. This is a board. You click on your board, you can flick between boards. And these are cards. And then within the cards, you've got effectively due date, attachment, checklist, labels. So just to go back to the to-do list, what you can do just to really labour the point is you can actually add in colours. So this is kind of all to do with the analogy from the medical world. This is my red. This is my red item for today. You know, this is my green. All right. So just conscious of time. So that's the kind of stuff you can do as well. I'll go back to my new clients board. Right. Okay. So I've got this new card. Right. Let's sign the contract. Sign the go cardless, set up on QuickBooks, sent off to HMRC, just wait for HMRC to process. So I'll move that to in progress. I might put a due date on there. I expect HMRC to process that within 4 weeks. So I'm going to have a checkpoint there on the 16th of July. Right, 16th of July comes, okay, HMRC have processed, that is now complete, move that to complete. Since then, might have some other new clients to deal with. So that's really how I use Trello. I think the best thing about Trello, from my point of view, is the checklists. You can also tag people. So I've not got anyone else tagged into this, but you've got the comment, you've got description, which is static at the top. You've then got comments. So if you want to, you can bring in internal people, external people, but I might then put in here, you know, for example, Kate, who one of our team members who'll be looking at this, please speak to the client about signing their paperwork as we have not received this. Then what happens is Kate gets a notification in Trello and an email saying I've sent her this message. I'm not going to put that comment because that's not set up, but that's the kind of thing you can do. It's really useful. Then Kate will reply, right, I've chased this, it's done. And then, you know, your team members as well can move things around. So say anyone can tick these off. It doesn't just have to be done by one person. So that's the interaction element of it. So you can tick off, move that across. So that can be done by people in the team as well. People in the team can add comments, tag you. There's this tagging feature. So at the moment I can only tag myself, but you know, if I added other people to the board, they could tag me as well. And that's all free. So that's, you know, really good app I would recommend for keeping organised. LastPass I mentioned as well. Really recommend that. So these are two of my favourite apps, LastPass and Trello. And the managing stress bit is really around coming back to this to-do list, keeping on top of things, using the due dates, using the colour coding, stop doing lists. I think it's really powerful as well. You know, I often speak to clients, what do they want to achieve? What's holding them back? Can they delegate something? Can they create the time? Can someone else do something that they're struggling to do? Help build their business in other areas. So I'd really recommend that. And the repeat, you know, that's just my personal preference really, to use a separate app for things which repeat, because you can just set it up as repeating daily, weekly, and then that's done. You can mark that off, and then effectively what I would probably do is start with my repeatable tasks that I have to do, say every day or every week, get those done, and then work more on the project stuff. Whether it's new clients, make sure that's all done. I mean, you know, and then you can interact as well. So I might have, you know, I've got on my repeatable tasks, you know, check in on the new client status. So that's one example where there's a bit of crossover. So that's a repeatable task. I'll then go to my new clients. I'll then look, we'll then check through, you know, is there any progress that we can make? So if we've got 10 new clients all at different stages here, moving them across to complete. So I'm sure there's other comparisons with other industries, you know, projects, getting things done. It's something we all have to do really. So something helpful. Just conscious of time, so I'm going to stop the screen share now. So that's aspects done. So that's really just what I wanted to cover today in terms of prioritisation, and I'll just see if there's any questions. Bit of feedback, Trello, yeah, all good. So no questions. So there's in the chat box if you want to watch the video around prioritisation. So yeah, so that is my webinar done. Any comments, we'll post this on our LinkedIn page. We'll put it on our website as long as the webinar is good enough quality, which I hope it is, and speak to you all soon. Okay, thanks, bye for now.